Number 17, that's AB 1240 by Mr. Banta. Mr. Banta, you may begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Let me start by thanking you, Mr. Chair, and your staff for your time and willingness to work with me and my office on this bill, and I will be accepting the committee's proposed amendments to state clearly that serving breakfast will not supplant instructional time. And secondly, I commit to working on the concept of a waiver going forward and working with your office as we do so. With that, I'm proud to present, along with Assemblymember Thurmond, who is a joint author, AB 1240, the Breakfast After the Bell bill, which would establish basic requirements for school breakfast programs to ensure that more California children have access to school breakfast and are prepared to learn. Research tells us that breakfast, and more specifically, school breakfast, is tied to students' academic achievement and physical, mental, and emotional health. On an average school day in California, 4.3 million, or 3 out of 4 students, miss out on the health and academic benefits of school breakfast, and at least 2.2 million of these students are California's most vulnerable children. AB 1240 proposes practical changes to the school breakfast program based on the need of the student population that will help our state more effectively and efficiently connect students with the resources they need to learn, grow, and achieve. Many schools that presently do not offer breakfast will be required to do so. Higher need schools would be required to integrate breakfast into the school day, offering a meal sometime after the first bell rings. Where student need is the highest, schools would also begin to offer breakfast free of charge to all students. To protect local decision-making and provide local control, AB 1240 empowers schools and school districts to choose the best method of serving breakfast after the bell on their campuses, the one that works best for them. I respectfully request your support of this bill, and I have with me 2 witnesses. One is Principal Barbara Friedrich of Stanley Mosque Elementary School, LAUSD, and the other is Rodney Taylor, Director of Nutrition Services, Riverside, USD. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Banta. Your witnesses.
Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Friedrich. I am the principal of Stanley Mosque Elementary in LAUSD. I am also the elementary principal of the year in LAUSD. I have been an administrator for 13 years, 5 very happy years at Stanley Mosque, the school that I opened. And we have currently 562 students K-5 and 44 preschoolers on our campus. All of our classes do breakfast in the classroom in the morning, with the exception of my afternoon preschool. We started 5 years ago with a before school and a second chance breakfast at Stanley Mosque. And our average numbers that were served were approximately 35% of my students on a good day. Currently, with breakfast in the classroom, we're serving close to 90% of our students every day. Breakfast after the bell has cut down on our number of office referrals in the morning because our children are being fed. The children are focused. From the moment they walk in the classroom, they're served their breakfast and they're journaling. They're watching educational videos. They're collaborating together. So in my school, there isn't a moment that's wasted. If you think about it, in an elementary school, on average, when they first get into the classroom, there's a lot of things that go on that push back a little bit on the educational piece. But when they get in there and they're served their breakfast and they start right away, we're really losing fewer minutes in the morning as the children get going. Oops. I also wanted to talk to you about the fact that we are like the little engine that could. 2.5 years ago, they brought the program to us, and I sat down with my staff and I said, this is something that LAUSD wants to do. We have to make it work. And that's exactly what we did. It takes us 15 minutes in the morning from the time the kids walk in the room until the time that the carts leave the classroom. We start off taking a little longer, obviously, at the beginning of the year, but at this point in the year, no more than 15 minutes are taken up with breakfast in the classroom. And I know that there have been issues with my colleagues with the mess. There have been issues with my colleagues with little insects. We don't have that problem. The kids clean up after themselves. We remove all of the trash from the receptacles every day, take them in the bags, and we have not had those kinds of problems at Stanley Mosque. They call us a model program, and I believe we are. It works for us. We give our kids breakfast in the classroom, free lunch, and also supper. And those are the 3 meals our kids get daily.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to come before you today. My name is Rodney Taylor, and I'm the Director of Nutrition Services. I've been a director in school districts for 25 years now, and Riverside is the 15th largest school district in the state with 43,000 students in 47 schools, and 68%, or 7 in 10 of those children, come from at-risk homes. What that simply means is they're at risk of hunger. And we have several after-the-bell programs that serve as a safety net. One being the breakfast in the classroom. We have it in 6 of the 31 schools. The participation went up from 18% to over 90%. The traditional breakfast model is a failed model. 18% of the children throughout our state. Those monies are on the table from the feds. We're not asking for appropriations. We're asking for common sense. Add common sense to Common Core and make sure that we've satisfied the most basic need on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that our children are fit and ready to learn. And so in our district, before we did the breakfast in the classroom, we were feeding 18%. It's 90% in the ones. And after the bell, even in the more affluent schools where we have grab and go, we're able to feed as many as 400 kids in a 10-minute span. This is really a common sense measure because there are no appropriations attached to it, and we should be advocating and ensuring that our kids aren't hungry. I've been married to a teacher all of my life. They buy food because they know when a kid says they have a headache or they're hungry, or a headache or their stomach hurts, it means they're hungry. If we're truly serious about children exceeding in the classroom, then we need to make sure that they are fit and ready to learn when they get to school. I'm a product of an at-risk home. I did not excel until I got into college when I can ensure that I had the meals that are necessary. We're allowing 5-year-olds to make a decision about whether to go play or eat breakfast. That's what we're doing.
Thank you, sir. Any further witnesses in support? Just state your name, affiliation, and position on the bill only, please.
Hi, my name is Dianna McDonald from the California State PTA, and we are in support of this bill. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Erin Evans Feudum on behalf of the San Francisco Unified School District in support. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members, Brendan Tuig on behalf of the California Center for Public Health Advocacy and support.
Justin Rouso with Roots of Change, also in support. Thank you.
Move the bill. Bill's been moved and seconded. Do we have any opposition? Seeing no opposition, we'll bring it behind the dais. Mr. Banta, thank you for recognizing the need for children to eat to be successful in school. I've seen it myself, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, so I very much appreciate that. I appreciate your understanding of my desire to see alternative methods to deliver students food during the day. Just, I look at a high school setting. If you have PE during first period, do you really want to eat in the locker room? Not always the most pleasant smelling place. And so you brought up the idea of grab and go. So certainly that's one of the concepts embedded in this bill, too. So I appreciate you working with me and us getting to understand the issue together better. So I want to thank you for your advocacy on this effort. Any other members of the committee wish to comment? Seeing no comment, you may close, Mr. Banta.
Oh, sorry.
Ms. Kim, wave that hand. like class, okay? Remember that?
Mr. Banta, I do have a question, and again, for clarification purposes too. When a similar bill came before our committee, it was had to do with lunch program, and we were concerned that that will cut into the instructional time. I'm glad to hear that in the beginning of your presentation, you did accept the amendment that would make sure that it doesn't cut into the classroom time, because that is so important. But when similar bills were introduced in the past, it carried a I believe we supported that, right, in the past, because it allows school districts to apply for financial waiver, or they were contingent upon the funding in the annual budget. Could you clarify whether this bill will do just that too? Because again, while I support the breakfast program because it is the single most important meal of the day, and especially for our young students, we do need to do everything we can to make sure that they are fed if they cannot be fed in the morning before they come to school. And I really have understanding of that. But again, I do have problem when it's a state mandated program. So I think the gentleman, one of the witnesses, did mention that this is something that is addressed. But I want clarification and assurance that we're not going to be burdened. I mean, I don't want every school district to be billing the state.
Thank you for your comments. Let me just take the first point first and the second one second. Thank you for raising the issue of instructional time. I wholeheartedly agree. I want to thank Mr. Chair again for his advocacy on this issue and the discussion and dialogue that he sparked with our office to help us to get to where we are, where we have made a very clear statement in the bill that instructional time will not be supplanted. And there are a number of models. There's breakfast in the classroom, there's grab and go, there's second chance, there's extended passing period, there's mid-morning break. There's a whole set of different options available to the school site and the school district where they can decide best how to not supplant instructional time. So I just want to reaffirm my commitment and restate my thanks to the chair, and also thank you to you for raising it. On the other issue of the waiver, we got some proposed language on a waiver. We vetted some of that language. We vetted that language with the California Department of Education, and that started a dialogue which raised a whole slew of different issues. We think that the waiver issue is multifaceted and had too many moving parts to determine to cement and crystallize language today. That's why, in addition to the amendment about instructional time, I stated in the beginning of my comments that we are committed to exploring the concept of the waiver. The issue of a financial waiver has come up. It's in the center of our radar. We want to address and accommodate that. But at this point, we haven't studied and dove deeply enough to fully present to you fully fleshed out language without any unintended consequences that addresses all the possible issues that a waiver can. Having said that, we're committed to working on the waiver. We're committed to working on the concept of a waiver and to working with the chair and the chair's staff as we do so. So we're going to work on it.
Thank you. Any further comment from the committee? You may close.
I just want to thank you all for seeing the importance of this bill. There are huge federal dollars, as has been stated, that are being left on the table that we can leverage. It's 6 to 10 times the leverage of federal dollars when there's state input. It can make a massive impact in students' lives. So thank you all for your commitment to our students, to our learners, and to our schools. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Banta. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is do pass with amendments to Appropriations Committee. O'Donnell?
Aye.
O'Donnell, aye. Chavez?
Aye.
Chavez, aye. Kim? Kim not voting. McCarty? Santiago? Aye. Santiago, aye. Thurmond? Weber? 3 votes. It's on call.
The bill is on call.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members, and staff.